Hi, my name is Al Getler, and welcome to another episode of Lead or Be Led, where we're bringing some of the best guests for you to help you with your leadership challenges. Now, we don't only interview leaders from the standpoint of executives and C-suite folks. We interview people who are leaders in all types of ways. People who are leaders of people, leaders in technology, leaders in social media, leaders in marketing, leaders who are bringing to you concepts to expand your mind, to expand your thinking, and to help you find your way in this leadership battle that we all face every single day in today's world. We always try to find guests that bring us something to help us be motivated and teach us as well. So I'm really happy to have a guest with us today that I actually saw at an Inc. magazine event in Boston. It's called The Build, if you haven't checked out the Build Network, by the way. They had a day-long session in Boston, and this speaker was there, and he really caught my imagination. His book caught me. His book also caught one of my adult daughters who really enjoyed it a lot. And so I'm happy to have on the show today Lee Colan. Lee is an author of a book called Stick With It, and I think you're really going to enjoy the information he has for us today. So let's have Lee join us. Lee?
Hey, Al, thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Now, you are talking to us from the great state of Texas. Is that correct?
Dallas, Texas, all 100 degrees worth. That's absolutely.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun, buddy. Better you than me.
Yeah, I'll trade you anytime right now. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Good. Well, Lee, you spoke that day at Inc. Magazine's The Build Network's event in Boston, and
Right.
and it was a good crowd, but it was a pretty lofty crowd. There were some very high level people there, and I thought you did an awesome job bringing your message home. So first of all, let's introduce you to our audience, Lee. Tell us a bit about yourself, and tell us about the L Group, which you are a principal of.
Right. Started the L Group in 1999. It's all about leadership. That's what the L's for, not for Lee. It's leadership at every level. We help personal leadership, team leadership, and organizational leadership. And we tend to focus on how to equipping and inspiring leaders to execute their plans and engage their teams. Those are really our two niches: strategy execution and team engagement. And so we've been doing that for since 1999 now, really enjoying it. We do a lot of consulting work. I've been fortunate enough to have quite a few books written, and as a result of that, I've been fortunate enough that they've actually sold.
Yeah.
And so we get to come speak at places like Build, where you saw us, and lots of private events at organizations.
Well, super. Tell us about some of the organizations and companies you've worked with in the past.
Yeah, we work with some of the all the Fortune 500, basically, not all of them, but many of them, and a lot of mid-sized and smaller companies too that are on their way to becoming Fortune 100s or Fortune 1000s. So anywhere from the Hartford or Fossil, the watch company. I'm very brand loyal, have my watch on here, to a fair amount of energy clients, to Pier 1 Imports, and just so all those, whether retail, energy, services, so the whole range. But I enjoy working with all of them, but really like working with a lot of our smaller and mid-sized clients too, that really the owners are in the business trying to build it and create something great. And so those are a lot of fun also.
So, Lee, tell me, why am I going to pick up the phone and call the L Group? What is it that I'm facing that's going to make me say we have to get Lee in here and the L Group in here?
Yeah, I'd say a couple things. One is that we want to get better results by a more highly engaged workforce, or we have a strategy, but we haven't really been able to execute it very well, or we need a cleaner, more concise strategy that we can execute better. We don't want a three-ring binder. We want something clean that we could drive down through the organization and execute. And as you well know, I always tell people a good strategy gets you in the game, but a good execution is what really puts you into the winner's circle. So
yeah.
those are probably two reasons.
Yeah, it comes back to really getting those tactics executed and having people moving. So, and you
right.
talk about engaging that team too, which is really something that it's great to call yourself an executive, right? But how do you get yourself to the point where the people that report to you are engaged?
Right. Right, and that's we have a whole separate book on that called Passionate Performance, that we talk about this whole model of emotional and intellectual engagement, and I won't get off on that now, but our whole niche is really trying to take complex leadership challenges like engagement, accountability, execution, and turn them into concrete steps that leaders can take. Because sometimes it's easy to get caught up in, oh my gosh, how do I build a culture? How do I execute? How do I get people engaged? And there's all kinds of stuff running around the industry, all kinds of articles and tools and all that. And we try to cut through all that clutter and say, here's a simple model that can help you move and get mobilized toward addressing that challenge. It's kind of our little niche.
Gotcha, great. So let's stick with the book we're talking about today, and that is Stick With It.
There you go.
A pretty strong title. Stick with it. Give us the kind of the thesis of the book, and then we'll get a little deeper into the book.
Yeah, the book's really about, plenty of research that will support the fact that winning organizations set themselves apart by execution. We call it adherence. The book is subtitled Mastering the Art of Adherence. And it's based on a simple three-component multiplicative equation of your focus times your competence times your passion equals your ability to stick with your plans. So if you're smarter than a fifth grader, like hopefully we both are, we know that if any one of those components is zero, we get a big goose egg on the end. By the same token, if we just modestly increase any one of those components, sharpen your focus, build your competence, ignite your passion, we get this multiplier effect on our adherence, our ability to execute. So it's founded in that. It's based on a book I wrote 10 years ago, my very first book. And so we've been using that equation with organizations for 10 years. We're able to bring lots of their stories and voices and tools into this 10-year updated and enhanced version called Stick With It, Mastering the Art of Adherence.
Well, I have to say that the day I saw you speak, you did a paper folding exercise, and I really marveled at that because, it's fun watching people fold paper and I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, your lesson was, the listening, the adherence, the sticking with it and people unfolded their papers, and I would say, 90% of the room didn't come up with the correct end result. I'll reveal mine in a second, but they didn't come up with the correct end result. Is that typically what happens when you do an exercise like that?
Well, it's typically much better than that. We had a particularly dense group that day. I'm just joking. No, it was very typical, and really the lesson there was that we have to be more specific than we think we need to be, and it was really a lesson about communication and expectations. And oftentimes we say, hey, I'm paying these executives a lot of money, they should just go do it. And if you remember, the debrief point was that if we depend on others' perceptions of our own expectations, we'll be disappointed every time. So we have to be very specific about our expectations, clear about that, no matter what level we are in the organization, if we expect to get what we want in terms of an outcome.
I don't know why I did it, but just like last week, I found that piece of paper and I recycled it. But Lee, I'm going to tell you something. I have it. It's on my Twitter page at Al Getler, at Al Getler. I got it right. It was exactly the same as yours.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I did.
I
was so proud. I tweeted it. Yeah.
You were probably one in the crowd. We'll get one or two right each time, even an audience of several hundred. So that you're a rarity. So you've clearly set yourself apart, Al. Well done.
Well, promise me that you're gonna go to my Twitter feed and you're gonna find that photo and then you're gonna give me accolades. So
there you go.
Yeah, I'm like a little chimp. You feed me a little treat and I'm all good. That way I stick with it. So, all right, so the book, you're talking about basically laser focus,
Sure.
Once you figure out the strategy and once you need to move in that direction, you're saying that you have to be focused. So tell us a few of the stories that come out of writing this book.
Sure. And well, let's focus on focus right now. We always use the metaphor of a sun. If you think about a sun, it's an incredibly powerful source of energy. It gives off billions and billions of kilowatts of power an hour. Yet, with some sunscreen and a baseball cap, we can deflect most of its ill effects. On the other hand, a laser is a relatively weak source of energy. Gives off just a few kilowatts of power an hour. And with that relatively weak source of energy, we could cut a diamond in half. We can even cure certain types of cancer. If you've had LASIK surgery, you've had your eyes, your vision corrected. So my point is we have to be laser-like as leaders in order to execute. If we're like the sun and we're kind of all over the board, we're just kind of wagging the tail of the organization, we have to be laser-like to say, here's exactly what we're going to do. And just as importantly, here's what we're not going to do. These are conscious decisions. Say we're not going to do those things. We're not going to be everything to everyone. If we are, we'll probably be nothing to nobody. We're going to be very best at these few things. And that clarity at the executive level gets trickled down through the organization. If we're like a sun at the executive level, we've got a whole organization running in a million different directions.
Yeah, so that day you told the story about a product that we all kind of take for granted, but actually really didn't come online until probably you and I were kids. Could you tell the story about Velcro?
Yeah, it's really a guy named George de Mestral in 1947 was out in the Swiss Alps enjoying some time convening with nature, and he looked over at his dog and he noticed his dog was kind of like getting itchy and scratchy, and so he walked on over there and started pulling these little things out of him called they call them cockleburros. I call them pricklers when I was a kid.
Right.
And he looked at them, and they had these little hooks and loops in them. And it started a 10-year journey for George de Mestral. Sometimes I call him Curious George. And 10 years, he took this home, looked at it under a microscope, and he created what's known now to man as the stickiest man-made substance. He basically created a man-made cockaburro, which we know as Velcro, right? Mm-hmm. And Velcro's all over the place. God forbid my kids now can't even tie their shoes because they got Velcro shoelaces. We use Velcro in the space shuttle. We use Velcro for heart surgery to keep a heart together. If you're old enough like me, remember David Letterman jumping up on a Velcro wall.
Absolutely, sure. Yeah.
So I love that story because not only did George have to stick with it for over 10 years of adversity and a market not being ready and lack of funding to really bring this to market, but he was also bringing to market something that was very sticky also. We kind of use that as the intro in the book to kind of set up the story here.
So 10 years, this gentleman studies this, and that kind of focus in today's world, obviously, you probably slash it to 10 minutes where people really get to focus. But it truly revolutionized the way we, as you say, we face apparel and attachments of things and whatnot. And now it's a whole industry in and of itself. So what are some other examples of contemporary focus that you're seeing now where people are really sticking with it and getting results?
Yeah, well, you could. Let me give you an illustration first, and some specific examples. One great illustration of what the journey of adherence is like is a particular type of Indian thorny bamboo seed. Once that bamboo seed is planted, it takes about 2 years of the right environmental conditions before it even breaks ground. Watering, sunlight, nothing going on above ground, just a strong root structure. But once it breaks ground, it can grow up to 100 feet in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so I don't know about you, but in today's day and age, it's like I could barely sit in front of my microwave and wait for the popcorn to be done in 30 seconds, let alone stick to a strategy, right? So what happens is we have people saying, hey, I'm not getting the results. I'm moving on to another strategy, another organization. And then they look back at the guy who's been sticking with that particular strategy for a while and cultivating it, even though visible, tangible results might not be clear. And then all of a sudden, boom, it pops to the ground. Now, and everyone's looking at that person going, hey, overnight results, that's not fair.
I think we have a picture of you with one of these bamboo trees. Am I not correct about that?
You might have it up on your screen.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the screen right now. Yeah. So tell us about this photo.
Yeah, and actually, it wasn't me, but I used to use just a generic photo of big bamboo until one of my readers said, hey, Lee, that's real stuff. I was just in Asia. Here's a picture of my wife with the bamboo. And as you pull up the photo, you might see that you can't even notice her. It's immense. It's nearly 100 feet high, and she's just like a speck. You would never even notice her unless you pointed her out. So this really does happen. And not only does it grow fast, but bamboo is strong and it's flexible. In fact, in Asia, bamboo is used in place of steel in a lot of cases. If you look at all their skyscrapers under construction, the scaffolding is bamboo and just bamboo, not even steel and wood. So not only does this bamboo grow quickly with the right nurturing, but it also is very flexible and strong. A great metaphor for the results you get by throwing your shoulder in it day in and day out, sharpening your focus, building your competence, and igniting your passion, which is the adherence equation, as we call it.
So Lee,
let me go ahead.
Does a modern worker have that type of patience these days? To entrepreneurs have that focus and patience? And maybe I cut you off and you were about to say that.
No, that's okay. You're right. Entrepreneurs, we tend to be much more like a sun than a laser, right? It's kind of like walking my dog. Every time he sees a new rabbit running across the street, he's running that direction. So entrepreneurs particularly have to focus on picking those one or two few things that are really critical and focusing on them, saying yes to those and saying no to other things. Because when we say yes to something, by default, we're saying no to something else, right? So we have to say, we're going to be all about developing the best product in this particular niche. That means we're going to say no to something else that might be appealing, this other shiny object somewhere, but we have to say no to that so we can say yes to the most important things. And to answer your question, the most successful organizations today are ones that know how to sharpen their focus and do the other things also, but they're particularly focused. They know we're all about this. IBM says, you know what, we're getting out of the computer stuff. We're going to be all about services. Fossil, the watch company I talked about before, they have a model that says we're going to be all about building this Fossil brand, and we're going to be all about creating this really strong watch machine, all these other licenses they have with other watch companies. So there are lots of examples out there that say, listen, that we're going to be better than anybody else at this. Southwest Airlines says we're going to be the best, short hop provider in the airline industry, and they've done it 39 years in a row successfully. So again, the best companies are very clear. If you really dig behind it, get out from behind the consumer perspective, understand the business, they're very focused about what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. But to your point, entrepreneurs, it's a real challenge.
So if I buy Stick With It, if I buy this book, which I'm sure is available on Kindle, in print, any place that I'm going to miss, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, where else can I get the
Everywhere
book?
books are sold, as they say.
Everywhere books are sold. In the end, what am I going to pull from the book? And then you have something called At a Glance too. That
Sure.
where am I going to go with Stick With It? How is it going to help me in my work?
Yeah, we try to write all my books very simply and kind of rapid read with like quick summaries at the end of each chapter, the at a glances you're referring to. And actually at the end of each section, at the end of Focus, Competence, and Passion, there's a whole chapter dedicated to your personal focus, your personal competence, your personal passion. So we try to write these business books that really have personal application to them. So I would say at the end of this, people might say, you know what, I'm going to be really clear with my team about what's our one thing, what's most important to me. All right? I'm going to be really clear about saying no to a few things that are not adding value. I'm going to be really clear about how we communicate that one thing down through my organization and down through my team. And that's just within Focus. Other areas like about igniting your passion, we talk about how to bring your values to life so they're not just a poster on the wall, how to use rituals to bind your team together and create this great sense of passion. Under the competence section, we talk about how to use accountable language so people are clear and specific, how to create scoreboards so people are really at their best and really know that score is being kept and they want to win. So in each of these sections, there are very specific actionable steps we offer, whether it's on a personal level or a team level, that we hope that people could take back and apply immediately. And based on the feedback we got, those are the kind of things that are happening. We feel real fortunate about that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what makes the book great is that, it is actionable. And at the end, that focus is there.
Yeah.
And like a lot of us, you'll be taking a lot of information, but if an author takes the time to summarize it at the end of each chapter and then give us a plan to follow, it makes it that much more valuable. So that's great. And Lee, I got to tell you, one of the things that I think I have a complaint about is you have your lack of energy. You're a very energetic guy. You certainly believe in your message and seeing you speak. I assume you're available for public speaking as well and get talk to groups.
We're very, very fortunate that we do quite a bit of that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So if I wanted to contact Lee, what are the best ways for me to do that?
Yeah, you could do at Lee Colan at Twitter. You could just go to our website at thelgroup.com, the word the letter L, then the word group, the L Group. Lots of free resources out there. Just go to the Leadership Insights tab. Hundreds of free resources, but certainly if you want to contact us, we'd love to talk to you and support your success in any way.
Does the book have a website as well?
Yes, stickwithitbook.com. There's stuff out there, Stick With It Book. Lots of resources out there to go to, and that'll link to our website also, but there's more specific stuff about the book right there.
Outstanding. Lee, it has been an absolute pleasure. Can we have you back on the show sometime again in the future?
It would be my pleasure. Thanks so much, Al. Appreciate the time.
Well, I do appreciate that. Thank you, Lee, very, very much. We'll say goodbye now, but we'll have you back here again soon.
Look forward to it.
All right, good deal. Well, folks, that wraps up another episode of Leader Be Led. We are so proud to have guests on here like Lee, who really, as you see, the energy level he has, the passion he has for what he's bringing to us as leaders is just outstanding. And I recommend you going out and grabbing the book, Stick With It. We want to hear from you. There's certainly plenty of places for you to comment on YouTube, on our page, on our blog, on our website, which is leaderbeled.com. And certainly, interviews like Lee's deserve to be shared. So if you enjoyed what you saw today, tweet about it. Send it out on Facebook. Send it out on Pinterest. Tell folks that here at Leader Be Led, we have great guests like Lee who are here to help you with your career, help you with your focus, and help you move forward as a leader. So with that, I want to thank you for being here today, and we'll see you next time on Lead or Be Led. My name is Al Getler. Thanks a lot.